Please take your seats. Perfect. It's so great to see a very full room, and it's great that there is such great enthusiasm on the topic of action for climate empowerment. Some of you might be arriving just yesterday, and this might be your first day. Welcome to Yeosu. It is also my home country, so I feel very proud and great to have you here with us today. So welcome to the Action for Climate Empowerment event titled From Local Action to Global Impact. Today we will be highlighting and exploring the role of subnational and local governments in driving just and inclusive climate ambition and implementation, particularly through the implementation of Action for Climate Empowerment. We have an exciting agenda for you prepared today, and we look forward to your active participation. Some of you may not be familiar with the term Action for Climate Empowerment, or ACE. We got you covered. But before that, we have the honor of inviting distinguished speakers to provide some opening remarks. We will begin with Dr. Tuba Dinçbaş, Director of COP31 Action Agenda of the incoming COP31 Presidency of Turkey. Dr. Tuba, you have the floor.
Good morning, dear colleagues. It's a pleasure to join you today at this important Action for Climate Empowerment event. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to the Republic of Korea for bringing us together in this beautiful city. And I also wish to warmly greet my fellow speakers, Bernardia and Ingrid. At a time when the global climate community is no longer debating what needs to be done, but rather how to deliver, Action for Climate Empowerment stands at the very heart of the implementation. And without informed societies, empowered communities, and inclusive participation, climate ambition cannot translate into real-world impact. As the incoming COP31 presidency, Turkey approaches this moment with a clear understanding. The central challenge before us is the implementation gap. This is why our presidency is shaping COP31 as a COP of implementation, focused on action, delivery, and measurable outcomes. In this context, ACE is not a standalone agenda, but a cross-cutting enabler for COP31 action agenda. Its core elements, education, public awareness, training, participation, access to information, and international cooperation are essential to operationalization of climate action across sectors, particularly in strengthening governance, supporting resilient communities, advancing youth and education, and enabling capacity building systems. Implementation is not only about infrastructure or finance. It is fundamentally about people, skills, institutions, and ownership. COP31 builds on the progress made under Glasgow Work Programme, which marked a shift from awareness to action. As we approach its midterm review in 2026, COP31 will serve as a moment for reflection, recalibration, and acceleration. Through the COP31 action agenda, we are promoting climate resilient urban systems, integrated risk management, inclusive governance models, data-driven decision-making, locally led adaptation, and sustainable financing mechanisms. In Turkey, local climate action plans act as key delivery mechanisms for climate adaptation, enabling inclusive and data-driven local action, promoting stakeholder engagement, and advancing coordinated on-the-ground solutions that enhance resilience and support sustainable development. And these local climate action plans are mandatory for each cities with the climate law that we enacted last year. ACE plays a critical role in advancing these efforts by strengthening capacities, enabling participation, and ensuring inclusivity. Let me also highlight a key area where ACE and our action agenda converge: youth and education. Young people are already active agents for climate solutions. However, the growing green skill gaps risk leaving many behind. Through COP31, we aim to strengthen climate literacy, align education with green labor markets, and support meaningful youth engagement in decision making. Because a just transition is not only about technologies, but about equipping people to be part of that transformation. Dear colleagues, the success of both ACE and COP31 depends on strong partnership. This is at the core of our vision, which is dialogue, consensus, and action. As we move forward, COP31, we see ACE not as a supporting agenda, but a driving force for implementation. I look forward to the insights from this session and to working together toward a strong and impactful outcome at COP31. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tuba. Please give her a warm round of applause one more time. And thank you so much for highlighting the efforts done by Turkey to implement ACE, and we really count on your leadership, the COP31 presidency, to enable us to deliver a success outcome in Antalya. Now, I would like to invite Ingrid Lundberg, branch head of the Office of the COP31 Presidency of Negotiations. Ingrid, you have the floor.
Thanks very much, Hyunjin. Good morning, everybody, distinguished delegates and partners. It's a pleasure to join you here in beautiful Yusu. And I too would like to begin by extending my thanks to our host, the Republic of Korea, and to the government of the NRW for helping to facilitate and organise this event, and of course to Fleur and her team. I'm pleased to be speaking with you today alongside Tuba in her capacity as the president of the COP31 president from Turkey, and Dr. Bernadia, who will be speaking next. And I'd like to just wholeheartedly echo and endorse the comments that Tuba made. This is about partnership, it's about community action, and it's a key focus for Australia as well. I'd also like to just acknowledge that we have today in the room our Presidency Youth Climate Champion. She wasn't expecting this, and I didn't tell her I would do this, but Sally Higgins is here today, and please take a moment to go and say hi to her, because she will be spending the next 2 years focusing on youth empowerment and young people's action. I also just wanted to say that I think the ACE acronym for the UNFCCC, certainly my experience is there are acronyms everywhere in this space, and ACE is definitely the coolest one, the easiest to remember, so you've got a good program that you're focusing on here. Australia recognises that empowering all people to contribute, from individuals to communities, is essential to successful climate action. And we also recognise that at the community level and individual level, there's lots of really positive climate action that is already occurring. This year is an opportunity for us to reflect on the implementation of the ACE work program, to take stock of what has already been achieved and been set in motion already, and to consider the development of a new action plan. Australia looks forward to working with each of you on an action plan that delivers specific, measurable progress to empower all people to take climate action. Today's event is focused on taking local action to deliver just and inclusive transitions, and this is an important opportunity to focus on the key role of cities and regions and the communities within them in advancing climate ambition and implementation. In Australia, local governments are integrating climate adaptation into their decision-making to protect communities' health and well-being, property, infrastructure and livelihoods, but also to help ensure communities, cities and regions thrive now and into the future as we face new climate impacts and challenges. Strong community engagement for just and inclusive transitions includes hearing from all parts of our society, from young people, from youth, through to our most senior citizens. And this helps to ensure that actions we take solve for everyone's needs rather than one cohort of the community at the expense of another. The 6 ACE pillars of education, public awareness, training, public participation, access to information and international cooperation on these matters are most effective when delivered by all of us, by all actors and all levels of government. And I know Turkey will be focusing a lot this year on education and young people, and we are keen to support that action. In a time of geopolitical instability, and I think we've all been living through that these last 7 or 8 weeks, this discussion invites us to consider how we can work together globally to act locally through dialogue, consensus and action. Thank you very much. I hope it's a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. Another round of applause, please. Thank you. Australia has been a champion in the ACE Agenda Room for the past few years, and we really look forward to continue working with you in the negotiation space, but also learning more about Australia's experience in implementing ACE at the national and subnational level. So thank you very much. Next, we have Dr. Bernadilla Irawati Chandradewi, Secretary General of the United Cities and Local Governments Asia Pacific. Dr. Bernadilla, you have the floor.
Annyeonghasimika. Very good morning. Very pleased to see familiar friends and faces here in this beautiful city of Yosan. Actually, this is my first visit to Yeosu, and I heard that it's surrounded by 365 small islands. We haven't had a chance to see, but we are so fortunate to be here in this beautiful city of Yeosu and talk a very important aspect, which is action for climate empowerment, how local governments, subnational governments influence and make these actions into reality or into concrete actions. So we cannot talk about global agenda implementation without engaging local and regional governments. And this is the key of our discussion here. Because when we talk about local and regional governments, they are not just only implementers of climate actions, but actually they are the closest democratic interface to our communities. We have a direct link with all the communities all over the world. This is the role of local governments that we cannot deny. So these unique positions actually places local governments at the heart of delivering climate actions that is not only effective, but also just and inclusive. So in many ways, I think you know about the element of ACE here. There are 6 elements, and I'm sure you remember all those elements, right? Yeah, okay. We will have a test later on, right? So these all 6 elements of ACE, railing from education, public awareness, training, public participation, public access to information, and international cooperation, those are linked to subnational governments. Let me highlight here key ACE. Cities and local governments are advancing climate educations through curricula. There are a lot of local governments that already implemented local curricula on environmental educations, including Japan, South Korea, and many other places as well. So also focus on community-based learning. And they are also fostering public participation to participatory planning processes, citizens' assemblies, and youth engagements. And there are already some mandatory places for public participations, like in Indonesia and many others. But there are not all mandatory for public participation in several countries. So that's the reality. So they are also raising public awareness through initiatives linked to everyday services, from sustainable mobility to waste management and energy uses. I'm sure you have a lot of examples to share today, but let me give you some examples that are really in the ground. Like one is Pisanulok. Anyone from Thailand here? No? Oh yeah, yeah, from Thailand, but you're from India actually. So Pisanulok, Thailand, they have a strong community-based engagement on organic waste management and circularity. This is a topic also will be discussed tomorrow. Surabaya, Indonesia, second biggest city in Indonesia. They have a very famous integrated environmental education to school and neighborhood kampung programs. And they also have, they call it environmental hero that comprise of young people. So they have thousands of environmental heroes. These just a few examples. Huh? Another one also Seberang Perai, Malaysia. We work together on the participatory public space development there. So I just want to mention here, those practices are not abstract. Those practices are practical and also live experiences within communities. However, if we are going to move from local action to global impact, we must go further. So here I have some key asks. Maybe later on you might discuss about this. First, we must ensure that communities, particularly informal and vulnerable groups, are not treated merely as beneficiaries of climate action, but as co-creators of solutions. This is essential to achieve a truly just transition effort. Yeah? Example, there are a lot of examples on gender responsive participatory budgeting. This is just a process. Again, I want to highlight here that not all countries put gender responsive planning and participatory as mandatory. This is also issue that we also struggle in some places. So second, we need to invest in capacity strengthening for local governments to systematically integrate ACE into climate planning and implementations. There are 56% of reporting cities, around 800 cities in Asia Pacific, have a climate action plan on strategy in 2023. But this is not mandatory for all countries to have climate action plans. So more than 1/3 of Asia Pacific cities that have reported have set adaptation goals, while 41% of cities have set an emission reduction targets, with a further 10% planning to introduce one in the next 2 years. So through GCOM, through several efforts, through GRC, through several works that have been done, climate action plan development have been introduced and have been developed. And so far, I think we support around more than 50 local governments in developing climate action plan. But importantly, climate action plan should not be seen as a separate report or separate plan, but it should be integrated in the overall plan of the cities or local governments. That's also a challenge, because integrating those climate action into regional planning of cities, these also need effort and need capacity buildings. So last, third, this must be matched with dedicated and accessible funding streams, particularly for community engagement and social innovations. We discuss about financing. We discuss also how local governments can access funds and have a financing mechanism as well. There are a lot of challenges that we face here. Some cities or some local governments cannot have any certain arrangement on financing aspect as well. So what I want to emphasize here, that we need very good enabling framework for climate assessment, climate funding. And we work with ESCAP together on the assessing of the climate financing in these regions. And we see also, we come with recommendations. I think we can share if we have time. So last, for final key messages here, equally important is the need to strengthen the connection between national and local levels. National aid strategies must be closely linked with local implementation realities. This includes recognizing local governments as key partners in delivery and ensuring that their experiences and innovation inform national and global processes, including under UNFCCC. And another important key message here, that cities pairings, this is city training, cities learning, because cities believe from other cities, or local governments believe in other local governments, that those actually can happen in their own places here. So city pairing and free learning plays a critical role. Across our network, we see a lot of local governments learn from each other. There are a lot of platforms, UCLG, UCLG, ASPAC, ICLE, CDP, whatever platform that they use. And we are quite unified in the form of Global Task Force for Localizing SDGs and also LGMA in the UNFCCC process. So as we look ahead, it's essential that the voices of local regional governments continue to be meaningful, reflected in the UNFCCC processes. So because climate action is more powerful. Climate action is more powerful when it's rooted in the people, in communities, and in the places where changes are felt most directly. So we believe in that, and I hope you believe in that too, right? Yeah? You believe in that? Great. Thank you so much, and kamsahamnida. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernardia. Please give her a warm round of applause for her very energizing remarks. And I think Dr. Bernardia sort of involuntarily laid out the agenda for our event. So we will now, as I promised at the beginning of the session, we have heard from our speakers a bit. You have thrice so far what the 6 ACE elements are. There might be a pop quiz at the end to let you test the knowledge of what those 6 elements are. And now I think you are sort of in a process to begin thinking about why is it important for us to be thinking and talking about ACE and its role in the action of subnational and local governments. But we will not, again, throw you under the bus without going through the ACE 101. So now to provide you with a more detailed explanation, I now invite Fleur Newman, our Action Empowerment Unit Lead at the UNFCCC Secretariat, to take us through some of the basics of ACE.
Okay, thank you. Thank you and good morning, and thank you very much to our evening speakers. It has made my job a little easier because you not only have 6 elements to the pop quiz will not only include the 6 elements, it will also include the 4 priority areas under the Glasgow Work Programme. So, as Hyunjin said, my name is Fleur Newman. I lead the Action Empowerment Unit at the Secretariat, and that is the 3 teams, one on action for climate empowerment, one on gender and climate, and one on children and youth. So, the Action for Climate Empowerment is under Article 6 of the Convention, so the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and Article 12 of the Paris Agreement. I'm a lawyer by training, and when I was asked by a previous executive secretary to take on the role of supporting this work, the first thing I did was look at the treaty. And where Article 6 sits in the convention is after the objectives, which is about limiting greenhouse gas emissions to avoid dangerous increases and climate change. But it comes before the creation of the governing body. So this article sits at the very beginning of the convention, and it's one of the few shall provisions in the convention. Also a shall provision in the Paris Agreement, and one of the few. And from a legal perspective, there are most of the convention and the Paris Agreement use the word should. In this case, the architects of the convention said that in order for us to make the changes that were needed, to shift from where we were to where we needed to be, all governments needed to address climate education and public awareness, training, public participation and access to information, and that no government could do this on their own, and that international cooperation was essential in order for us to deliver on this. So this is a really important part of the Convention and the Paris Agreement, and I think as our opening speakers have laid out, at this particular moment in time, it is even more important than it has been in the past. Children and youth are a cross-cutting focus of Action for Climate Empowerment, in part because of the connection to education and training. It is not the only place that children and youth need to be a cross-cutting consideration. That needs to be a consideration across all aspects, but there are very specific activities within the work program and the action plan, current action plan, which relate to children and youth. And when we're thinking about climate education, for instance, or public awareness, what is important to be thinking about is also that climate education is not only about climate science. Climate education is also across the curricula. It's as relevant for law or finance or economics or architecture as it is in relation to climate science. And that goes for the training too. This is not only about the sectors that we think about automatically, about renewable energy or the industrial transitions that are needed. This is also every other sector of our economies and societies that need to consider both the impacts and the way in which they're contributing to climate change. And so people who are in jobs already need to be thinking about the relevant aspects in relation to their work, and that training needs to be in place. So for public participation and access to information, this is essential in order for everyone who is outside a formal education system, but also for the way in which governments communicate, so governments, national and regional and local, communicate with their publics. And again, this is something that is essential as we come to transitions which will involve some very difficult choices in the coming years. And people need to be able to engage in that and feel that they have a role to play, and that this isn't just something that's happening to them, but that it's something that they can participate in. And on the international cooperation piece, this is reflected in the work program. You see the actors, including sort of references to libraries, to subnational governments, to all sorts of actors need to be involved in this. Because the other thing is that some of these messages and the communication that needs to happen isn't necessarily going to come from government. It needs to come from whoever is able to deliver that in the most effective way, and that isn't always government. Sometimes other trusted communicators are health workers. It might be librarians. It may be coaches, sports coaches. This is again thinking about this from a whole of society approach. And I saw the other day someone referred to ACE as the engine room of implementation for the Paris Agreement, and I think that's it's an electric engine, but it's definitely foundational to where we need to get to. So where we've come from, as I've just mentioned about Article 6, we've had a number of work programs, the Delhi work program, then the Doha work program, and then in Paris we have the Article 12, which is a slightly abbreviated version of Article 6, but it has all those 6 elements. Then at COP26, we end up with the Glasgow Work Programme on ACE, and that introduces 4 priority areas. So policy coherence, coordinated action, tools and support, and monitoring and reporting. And those 4 priority areas were recognised as being that there was work that needs to be done in order to enhance policy coherence. And I think we've heard already this morning about the importance of looking at policy which is happening at the local level and how that's incorporated into national planning, for instance. Then we have the ACE action plan adopted. So this was the first action plan that was developed under the UNFCCC process in the context of ACE. And the midterm review is happening this year. The midterm review will be a review of the work program and its progress, but then also an opportunity to develop a new action plan. And that will happen in the June session. And just to end on also the connection to subnational governments. The ACE Hub, the Action for Climate Empowerment Hub, is a partnership between the UNFCCC Secretariat and the government of North Rhine-Westphalia in Germany, which is where Bonn, where our head office is located. And this was a partnership which arose out of the fact that the state of North Rhine-Westphalia is the most energy-intensive state in Germany. There are some very difficult transitions that need to happen, and they recognise that these elements are things that they need to be working on, and that a partnership with the Secretariat made sense to be able to align what they're doing also with the international process. And this continues to be an amazing partnership. We support national ACE focal points through that. We engage children and youth in climate policy and action, foster multi-stakeholder collaboration, and in this new 3-year partnership, also looking at public participation and empowerment in the context of just transitions and the role of subnational governments in that. And that's both their role as important actors in being able to reach local communities, but also that piece about multi-level governance. So this is ACE, and I know I only said the 4 priority areas once, but so maybe we can make sure that that gets mentioned before you have to do the pop quiz later. So thank you all.
Thank you, Fleur. Okay, so now you know what is ACE, but now you might be thinking, I am actually doing ACE in my own context, that you work on education, you work on public awareness, you work on training, you work on public participation, access to information, or working internationally on these areas. Now it's 4th time, so I'm counting. It is our goal today, so by the end of the session, you realize that you have been implementing ACE in your work all along, and we start looking for ways to accelerate ACE implementation. Before we get going with the more exciting portion of the things, there will be some goodies up front, stickers, badges, to make sure that you remember what ACE is. There is a sticker that actually listed out all the 6 elements, so if you think you might forget, tomorrow, you might stick it on your laptop, your phone, your notebook, wherever you want it to be. So what does ACE actually look like in real life? Dr. Bernardi, I think you gave us very exciting examples in the region, but next segment, we want to highlight good practices of ACE implementation in cities and regions. We have 4 wonderful speakers with us today, and please welcome to the table with a warm round of applause whenever I introduce the speakers. So first, we have Nemat Kaur, who leads a strategy. Thank you. She leads a strategy and effort within the Climate Group's network of subnational governments from across 35 countries globally. This ranges from supporting subnational governments to set the highest possible climate ambition, take strong action via policy and projects, as well as subnational advocacy and accountability. Next, we have Dr. Un-Sil Choi. Please welcome her to the stage. She is a leading expert on lifelong learning education. She's currently the chair of the Advisory Committee for Learning Cities, while also serving as Professor Emeritus at Aju University, Korea, and Dean of Graduate School of Human Management at Midwest University of the States. Next, we have Emani Kumar. He is the Deputy Secretary General of ICLEI. With more than 25 years of experience, he has been intensely working on issues related to climate change, policy and planning, local governance, renewable energy and energy efficiency, social accountability, systems management, and auditing. Last but definitely not the least, we have Sarah Keblatin. She is an inclusive regenerative design specialist with over 20 years of experience. Sarah currently supports the Global Citizens Assembly convened by Eastway Foundation on learning strategy weaving, inclusive knowledge and practice, along with strategic partnerships for impact. Please take your seat. So, thank you very much. We have a panel of experts with, dare I say, over a century of combined experience and expertise. Dedicated to advocating. No, it's a good thing, no? We are doing an intergenerational dialogue. We also have various youth participants. Your work has been dedicated to advocating for and implementing climate and sustainability action at the subnational and local level. So we are very honored to have you here with us today. Then without further ado, let's begin with the interventions. First, a nice segue from Fleur's introduction on the ACE Hub. The Under 2 Coalition is a key partner in the ACE Hub initiative. NEMA and the Climate Group have been collaborating with the Secretariat for quite some time now. So with a full understanding of what ACE is, we would like to invite NEMA to share with us the work of the coalition and how it relates to ACE. You have the floor.
Thank you, Hyunjin. You're doing a great job, by the way, so I want to applaud you as well. Please, a great job for our host. And I'm supporting the merch already, so big recommendation to everybody on that. But like Hyunjin's already said, this is an initiative that's really close to the Under 2 Coalition's heart, and we are very proud to be partnering with Action for Climate Empowerment. Also because, of course, North Rhine-Westphalia is a proud member of our network, and we really support where our governments want to take leadership. And this is, of course, a really important issue that we are all gathered to talk about, because, sort of we can talk endlessly about targets and technologies, but really the transition will be effective when it's about people, participation, and trust. And that's what, sort of Action for Climate Empowerment is really trying to embody through its 6 work streams, which I'm not going to repeat because we've all heard them quite a bit. But I think where some of the Under 2 Coalition's work embodies Action for Climate Empowerment's principles in practice is that a few years ago, we, for example, did a big initiative called the Climate Pathways Initiative. This was about creating a framework, a set of tools that subnational governments could just pick up and say, okay, if I want to make a climate plan, how do I even go about it? And a very core element of that climate pathways framework was actually how to engage communities, not only as a separate step once your plan is ready, but actually while you're developing your climate plan and your target, you need to get buy-in from the citizens, from the communities, from the private sector as well, so that the plan is really owned and implemented through a whole of society approach. So for us, community empowerment, community engagement is a really core element of climate planning to begin with. But I think as we are going now more towards implementing specific elements of the plan, we've had some really strong examples from across the network on how this is really coming into practice. So, of course, we've already heard from Fleur on the example from North Rhine-Westphalia, who are really, sort of leading from a thought leadership perspective and supporting the ACE program by investing in it, by making sure that other subnational governments know about it. But I think also other governments in other parts of the world are actively engaging and understanding the importance of community engagement. I mean, throughout this week in Yosu, I've been in conversations about renewable power, about electrification. And everywhere, when you talk about barriers, one of the barriers that governments come up with is that public participation and public support for technologies and clean electrification is absolutely the number one criteria for any measure to be successful. So it's really important to understand that on the ground reality, even when we are talking about mitigation strategy, we're talking about technology change, we're talking about green industrialization, all of that is going to come to life only if the community buys into it and is shaped around it. So I wanted to talk about some examples of how our governments are actually bringing this to life. So I've just returned from California, where I visited some of the sites of the wildfires in LA last year. And we were talking about how California is putting in place some of their coping strategies. So one point that I also want to bring out is that community engagement is not only important for mitigation, but it's also important for adaptation and resilience. So California has a massive group of firefighters. They are called CAL FIRE. I encourage everybody to look it up. Now, CAL FIRE has created a youth program called the CAL FIRE Climate Corps. Core as in CORPS. And it's essentially a job creation program to train youth and young people to engage in climate resilience, in the prevention and restoration of wildfire areas. And it actually gives them a great leg up and runway to become future firefighters in the state. The state employs tens of thousands of firefighters. So it's a great way to engage youth and also create jobs, because those people get involved in the fighting fires in the future in LA. So it's not just about mitigation, it's also about how you can innovate and create jobs for building resilience and adaptation and making sure that the state is prepared for whatever future impacts of climate change it's going to experience. Another really great example that I want to bring to the table is from the state of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And Brazil is obviously famous for football. And the state of Rio essentially put out a public survey with the youth in the state, asking them what were their top priorities. And what came back from that survey was that they prioritized sports and they prioritized environmental protection. And so what the state did was they created this program called the Jovem program. And as part of that, they started engaging youth who were football fans to understand, sort of what were some of the considerations around sustainable sports, water management. The football clubs got involved in educating youth fans to understand how to protect and put sustainable practices in place. So it was really interesting to engage youth, young people, and children by using the lens of sports and culture, essentially. And then we also have many different examples from, sort of China, Italy, South Africa. I can get into details on all of those, but perhaps one last example that I'll leave everyone with is this community-led solutions and local ownership example called SEED. Again, it's from California, but I have millions of examples from across the coalition, so I'm happy to talk about them afterwards as well. And California, sort of, they again have tens and thousands of libraries, and they've started working with their local libraries to engage patrons of those libraries on the climate agenda. So like Fleur was saying, you really have to identify who is the proxy of the message that needs to be carried to community groups and engage, whether it's firefighters, whether it's libraries, whether it's high school teachers, whether it's sports coaches, football coaches, whatever that might be. And then after these examples, I guess the next point I want to make about is about transparency and accountability, and the fact that you need to almost establish a foundation of trust as governments to make sure that the climate transition really takes people along. So a critical enabler of action for climate accountability, empowerment is transparency and accountability. And at the subnational level, we are seeing that this is what turns participation of citizens into something real. without transparency, without reporting back, people cannot see progress. Participation risks only become symbolic and tokenistic. And the biggest challenge that at least political leaders are facing at the subnational level right now is trust. So I will conclude here and perhaps let my other colleagues on this panel come in. But I have 3 recommendations or priorities I would like to end with. First, I would like to recommend that as subnational governments embed ACE into their climate planning, as per the climate pathways framework that I've just talked about. Second, I think we heard from Bernardia that they need to invest in capacity because for regions with fewer resources and with less money, all communities cannot engage meaningfully. So this area needs investment and needs money. And third, I think governments also need to strengthen transparency and accountability systems. So that is what I will end with those recommendations, and look forward to a really solid discussion in the aftermath of this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nemat. I think there are some key themes emerging from the various remarks. The importance of utilizing the networks that we have, the associations, the issue about integrating ACE and the perspectives and needs of local governments and subnational governments into climate policies, the issue of financing, and the issue of accountability, and it also relates to the issue of public access to information. Now let us zoom into some of the ACE elements. A critical aspect of ACE is educating and equipping citizens and communities with the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes necessary to take climate action. It is oftentimes that it's cities and regions who are actually leading the efforts to include climate change into school curricula as well as educational programs. It is also important to note that education and awareness raising should target learners of all ages, and not just children and youth in schools, but also adults. So we are very pleased to have Professor Unshil Choi. Unshil, could you share with us what the learning cities are and how they promote lifelong learning for climate and sustainability action?
Okay, thank you. My name is Choi Unshil, the professor of Aju University and also the Midwest University in United States. And also the several years I worked as a vice chair of the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning. As an advisory committee member of the Learning City, today, very shortly, very quickly, I would like to introduce some of the Korean learning cities, ACE activities in the learning cities cases. So implementing ACE in Korean learning cities, action for climate empowerment, I would like to introduce what is the learning city. Learning city is a city that empowers all people to learn, apply, and grow together. For this, our core principle is to use resources for learning and the revitalization of the learning in the community, and to facilitate learning in the workplace, and to use modern learning tools, and improve quality of learning, and foster a culture of learning. Through this kind of the principles, our ultimate goal is to empower the people, inclusive society, and the sustainable development, and the strong communities. Learning together, serving together, growing together is the main idea of the Learning City. It is initiated by the UIL, UNESCO Institute for Learning. So they organizing the GNLC, the Global Network for Learning City. So there are many, more than 400 cities is GNLC designated cities. So 425 GNLC. and the 91 countries, and 498 million people is involved here. By the 2030, the global community seek to provide lifelong learning opportunity for all and make cities sustainable. So very strong connection and very strong alliance between the GNLC and the Sustainable City movement. This is the GNLC network for drive sustainable changes. First one is support all 17 SDGs. Second, promote lifelong learning, inclusive, equitable, and quality education for all. Third, build sustainable communities, safe, resilient, green, and healthy environment. First is advances equality and inclusion, empower people and leaves no one behind, and drives local action and innovation. So UNESCO Learning City and the Global Network very strongly initiated the movement towards the 17 UN developed SDG goals. So in Korea, we have 206 learning cities and 59 UNESCO GNLC cities. So they would like to try implemented the policy and the best practices beyond education to sustainable climate active communities. So as a first case, I would like just very briefly mention about the Seoul metropolitan city, their climate action in everyday life. So they would like to implement the SDG became Seoul's city map. This is the cover of the Seoul Voluntary Local Review 2025. It is registered by the UN VLR. As you know, VLR is the Voluntary Local Review. So the Seoul tried to, from 17 SDG global goals to one living urban system. So there are 4 SDG global policies as a city logic. First, a healthy city for all, thriving city of economic justice, leading city in climate action, the inclusive city built together. This is the very important principles of the Seoul Sustainable Cities policies. Second is the climate card. As you can find in the this climate card, there are low carbon mobility become cheaper, easier, and daily. Climate card gives citizens one pass for subway, bus, and the public biking sharing. So pilot results showed about Korean won 30,000 monthly savings per user citizens. So the reduced around 9,270 CO2 reduction. So the showing climate policy can benefit both people and planet. So the best climate education is the one people practice on their community. The third point of the Seoul is the green remodeling project. So the retrofitting the city we already have. So buildings are Seoul's biggest climate classroom. Seoul identified the buildings as a major source of the emission. So the 68% of the city GHG emissions. The green remodeling project targets aging public building first. So we plan to retrofit 1,079 public facilities by 2030. So the carbon neutrality becomes real when citizens can see it in public space. The first point of Seoul is the energy right. Clean energy begins with energy dignity. Clean energy must protect vulnerable households first. Seoul's SDG 7 focuses on basic energy right, not only renewable energy supply just. Energy voucher support low-income household, older adults, persons with disability, and the single-parent family. To the 2030 target is to reach 99.6% of eligible household. So we'll also expand renewables, EV infrastructure, and the climate tech support. Fifth point of the Seoul is the learning is Seoul's first just transition policy. As a metropolitan learning city, Seoul Run and the Open Civic University make a transition possible for those usually left behind. If you have some interest for this kind of the old practices, in the end of my presentation paper, there are my email address. So anytime, please contact to me. I will share the more concrete and the detailed information about these issues. And the sixth point of Seoul is before Seoul Act, Seoul Listens Citizen co-wrote Seoul's 2045 future plan. Participation became climate governance. So the 1,622 citizens, 104 experts, and 48 city departments joined and initiated to make the plan for the future 2045 Seoul's plan. And the second is the Eunpyeong, where neighborhoods become climate classroom. Eunpyeong is the prize winner of the UNESCO Learning City Worldwide Very Well Known City. They are also turned a waste crisis into a citizen system. Green MOA. MOA means a collection. AI Green. MOA movement is very famous of the Eunpyeong Learning City. So the Green MOA brings people together to collect, sort, and turn waste into climate action. Resident participatory separation system, Korea's first model where public and private get together. Second point of Eunpyeong is the children put their homes on a waste diet, zero waste to school movement. So the youth climate action begins from real household. The youth project Waste Diet moved climate education from awareness to measurement. Waste-free school, 41% reduction. And the model expanded into zero Eunpyeong Eco Camp, carbon neutral UCC contest. So many practices they tried to get carbon free and waste reduction. Third point is Eunpyeong is the 16 neighborhood village we call the Dong. So they become 16 climate action colleges. In Eunpyeong, there is no university, normal university, no. So they have a collaboration with other big universities, and the 16 villages have collaborate with the 16 university and make some the ACE active movement. Like you can find the map of the Eunpyeong and the activity pictures. The first point is
Professor, sorry.
Okay. Scared climate action through a citizen manual. They distribute and the creation of the citizens manual for the ACE, and every citizen get together, learn, and the use of the manual for the ACE active movement. The fifth point is a small changes on the global voice. Eunpyeong's green skill traveled from the neighborhood to UNESCO. So the together we learn. Together we change is the slogan of the Eunpyeong city. And lastly, the Suwon. Suwon is one of the best practice of the people-powered citizen-driven climate action. I came from Suwon City. So Suwon is also the UN Sustainable VLR City and also the UNESCO GNLC Award City. Suwon's very famous movement is the car-free climate laboratory movement. And the second is the Gosek. Gosek is the name of the village. Became Suwon's carbon neutral living lab. So very famous carbon neutral green city, planet friendly Suwon through the Gosek implementation practices. Third point is bicycle ride became a climate movement. Suwon is a very famous bike to work challenge. Climate action spread when people can measure their own impact. The photo showed the city mayor always ride a bicycle and go around the Suwon city. Suwon is a very big city, metropolitan. More than 13 minutes people lived there. The first point is the pocket garden turned empty spaces into climate classroom. This is a 손바닥, means a palm, very tiny garden movement is the one of the very famous garden movement, very tiny garden for the ACE. And the Suwon made carbon visible at home and the water flow again in rivers. So home carbon monitoring. So the Hwangjicheon Ecological Water Resources Center is very famous initiation for the ACE in Suwon. Because of the due to the time limit, I would like to conclude my focusing point. One of the best and the most important factor to initiating the learning city as a sustainable and the climate action is the contribution of the local animators, local workers' contribution for this movement. And the second is the political will, very strong will of the city mayor. And finally, not the last, is the networking, very strong collaboration among all the stakeholders of the city. So thank you.
Thank you so much. There have truly been a lot of inspiring projects in your presentation, and this presentation will be uploaded on our website, so you can go check all the details that you have provided, and thank you for the offer for the providing the email address so that participants can also reach out. And I said we are zooming into specific ACE elements, but it was truly that the interlinkages between ACE elements were quite obvious, and the Learning Cities movement also touches upon various other ACE elements, if not all. What we have here is obviously more systematic approach to implementing ACE, but we truly see ACE everywhere. Just look at the Climate Week / Grand Transformation Week. The city of Yeosu is hosting this week. Just outside of this venue, there's a bike zone where you can, I think the device allow you to hop on a bike and it generates electricity. There are film festival happening outside where it's also a significant effort to boost public awareness. Speaking on engaging, community engagement and public participation are critical in making sure our action is just and inclusive. And we will hear about two innovative ways of engaging the citizens and communities. The first example is a Town Hall Cops initiative by ICLEI. So Emani, we are very eager to learn more about this initiative. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. Before I present, I just want to ask you here, audience, how many of you have heard about COP, the Conference of Parties which they meet? Have you heard of the word COP? How many of you? Okay, almost all of you have heard that. Have you heard about Town Hall COP? Okay, so ICLEI has, I don't know how many of you heard about ICLEI, but I don't want to ask you on that. We are a city association all over the world with more than 2,600 governments, local governments or subnational governments who are part of that, one of the oldest city association in the world. What we have looked into is how do we, I think I'm so happy to learn since morning by every speaker talking about the 6 elements of the ACE. Though I don't want to repeat all 6, but how this Town Hall COP is really taking into consideration all those 6 elements at a city level on that. So that's what I just want to present it here. I just want to thank organizers, including UNFCCC and ACE team here for giving us this opportunity to present on that. So what is the Town Hall COP? Town Hall COP is like a practical city-led model that brings together, as I already said, all the 6 elements of the ACE into one single operational platform on that. So this is one thing which is, it is led by the communities, I think, which is one of the requirement here at the community-led event as part of the ACE movement. Nationally relevant, that is another major point which also talks about the ACE, and also the transformation-oriented ones. So all the 6 elements, I'm saying that as part of that one platform is what the Town Hall COP is really helping us that. We have almost like more than 50 odd Town Hall COPs happened before the Belem COP, which took place last year. And this year also before Antalya, maybe we are happy. If any of you city governments are sitting here, or any of your city-led movements, citizen-led movements, if you are interested, we are happy to support you. As I said, that we are all over the world. We have 27 offices in the world. Any of our office near to your city or your community, we are happy to help you out in that. This is the statistics. If I just have to put you here, we have more than 13,000 residents participated in these 51 town hall COPs, which has happened in almost like 25 odd countries in the 6 continents. Everywhere it is moving. The movement is growing up a lot. I hope the numbers, it was only around 26 or 27 before COP29, and before COP30 it was around already 51. I hope more town hall COPs going to happen this year on that. So I'll just tell you how these 6 elements of ACE is really addressing by the town hall COP. The first one on the climate change education, the public awareness. What is that the public needs to know? How many of you know your country NDCs? I'm sorry to ask you so many questions in this. Do you know about, you heard about NDC? You know about your country's NDC? Yeah, I don't know how many of you in your country know. You know here, maybe most of you. But this is one way when we do this town hall COP, we bring the national government, we bring the subnational city level government, and also the residents, the communities, the public awareness people, the youth, the children, the academics, all of these people coming together, joining in a conference of parties at a town hall and talking about what is my national government is talking about, what is the Paris Agreement has been happening. How is my country contributing this Paris Agreement? How is my NDC is going to address the global issues that this thing? So bringing together the international information, the COP, the national meeting, wherever it is happening, that information, what are the decisions they have taken, how my country national government is taken, and how is that going to be impacting our lifestyles, impacting our city level activities. So this is what the awareness, public awareness or the climate change education is going to do as part of this, the first element of that. So citizens understanding what is they have to do and how they are contributing either to their national NDC or to the international commitments on that. The second point is, second element is on the training and capacity building. Obviously, this is like a live capacity building platform, the Town Hall COP. It enables peer learning across the cities and regions. Actually, we have city to city. When we did the last year, the Town Hall COP at Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, we have UN Habitat colleagues, we have all the UN offices, we have the national government ministry attended on that, and along with the lot of, as part of the Asia Pacific Urban Climate Forum, Asia Pacific Urban Forum, that APUF, which as part of that we have done that. So there is like this capacity building which is happening between peer-to-peer and city-to-city on that. Public participation, I have already shown that there are more than 13,000 residents participated in these 51 town hall COPs. That includes, again, I think two of the elements what UNFCCC colleague has said, the youth and children is part of this particular town hall COP. They're creating the solutions to address the climate change issues. It's not just only the NDC, the commitment at the national level, but as citizens, NGOs, youth, children, how are they going to contribute? What are that they are thinking to address these climate change issues? So this is another thing which this town hall COP brings that information, that element into that. The other one is on the public access information. This is an open access platform. Anybody, this is not a restricted, like COP meetings. Here also, not everybody can come and here attend this CSU city. You have to register, you have to come here inside. But town hall COPs is like an open platform. Like everybody can come, every citizen can come, they can tell you that, they can understand that. So that's like another element which is really addressing, which is one of the element is on the public access information. This town hall COP is clearly addressing that particular thing also on that. On the international cooperation, that is another point which the ACE talks about. So what we are doing as a LGMA, local government and municipal authorities platform, that includes obviously Cities to Coalition, UCLG, Bernadia is here, C40, all of us coming together as part of the LGMA. So we are presenting this particular town hall COP report to UNFCCC so that they also know that what is happening, how they are helping us, how the town hall COPs is addressing the climate change issues, the COP initiatives at an international level, and also maybe at city to city or a region to region. That is another information. So that type of cooperation, not only just at the international level, but also regional level and sub-regional and local level, it is happening on that. The other initiative, the CHAMP, I don't know how many of you heard about this also, again, the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships. This is also another partnership which has started as part of the COP28 in Dubai, and which also helping us to address this issue, this international cooperation. So cross-country, cross-regional initiatives, city-to-city peer learning initiatives on that. The last element, the sixth element, is the multi-governance initiative that is ACE talks about. So all the town hall COPs, again, I don't want to repeat the same point. So they have actually direct interface between the local, subnational, and national governments, which I have already said that. So it is really helping to address the ACE issues on that. So this is how the town hall COP is really addressing all the 6 elements. As I said that we have a few good practices. South Africa, they have a lot of town hall COPs happening. Malaysia, I already said that. Even in Pacific nations, I don't know how many of you Pacific people are here. Kiribati has done that town hall COP last year. Australia has done a town hall COP last year. So I hope this year the number will increase, and we will see more information coming up and addressing all these six elements on that. So these are the various cities as of 12th November. Town hall COPs have happened all over the world. Happy this number may increase this year, and as I said that we are offering you support to, if you want to do it, please come and talk to us. We are taking it forward on that. So finally, to close that, I just want to put that town hall COPs provide a ready-made scalable mechanism for all the 6 elements, which if you want to try it at your level, at city level or at a community level, it connects the people, policy and practice, and also bringing or bridging the national ambition with a local implementation of that. And the key message is that as part of this particular session, I just want to put it, climate action accelerates when informed and empowered communities shape the solutions they are expected to implement on that ground. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Imani. Now we turn to another examples of innovative ways of engaging citizens and communities. I would like to invite Sarah. We now turn to you for the Global Citizens Assemblies. Could you share with us some exciting stories you have witnessed in the process? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Is everybody still with energy? Just mindful like I'm the last speaker, and it's almost lunch, so I hope everyone's still good to listen. I'm Sarah Cablatin. I'm from the Philippines, and I work with the ISWI Foundation for the Global Citizens Assembly. I'll speak about the Global Citizens Assembly for this session. I'm just gonna, oh, okay. That's my proper designation, which I wasn't able to communicate earlier. But the reason why I'm also, our main slide here, okay. So we wanted to share about how we're scaling actions for climate empowerment to align with the ACE contributions to the Glassdoor work programs, particularly in the goals of inclusion, participation, and international cooperation. The Global Citizens Assembly is actually have been working alongside the UNFCCC process as piloted at the COP21, COP26 in 2021 in Glasgow, and then also in Belém in COP30 became more formalized as a citizens track for the climate negotiations in partnership with the COP30 presidency in Brazil. And so my story, actually, it's very meaningful for me to be sharing because after COP21, I kind of stopped believing in the COP process. My hometown, Cebu City, was ravaged by Typhoon Rai, Super Typhoon Rai. I don't know if you know the case of the Shell case on Typhoon Odats. That's where I live. So for now, coming back here is also finding some hope in the process. But at the same time, this story actually I would like to share a story of Lal from Nepal, who has never worked on a computer, and he has participated since January to March with us, with a global community on addressing food systems and climate change. We call it the Civic Assembly, and it had 105 members, a snapshot of humanity who joined this deliberation, learning, reflection, and decision-making together. And these are people from all around the world who were invited through sortition. So it was a random selection through democratic lottery. And these are people who are they could be farmers, they could be your grandmother, they could just be somebody that you see every day, but they didn't have an official role or status. But they have a voice and they have something to say. And this is one of the highlights of the Global Citizens Assembly. And I wanted to share Lal's story because it touched me deeply, because he's never been online, and he had a translator, he has a community host with him, and we wanted to share because they're often the people we miss in the climate negotiations. So our role is to help facilitate these voices. Apart from the civic assembly, we work with the community assemblies. Community assemblies are more, instead of this global snapshot, global representation, we work with the local communities, so locally convened initiatives. So some of the examples here are from Brazil, Mozambique, India, and we actually compile some of their stories and their work through a platform called Assemblies. And we also invite other democratic innovations to share their case studies and activities. So you would see here in some stories that we've worked with, some communities we work with in Brazil, where stories of drought, food and insecurity have been addressed. In Maputo and Mozambique, young people turn community strength into concrete action. And then in India, how students imagine their way of a better future for food. So this is citizen-led and citizen-designed as well. So our work is to help facilitate the design, facilitate the enabling and delivery of this, and as well as documentation and reporting, and help support monitoring of impact. on Assemblies, we've also worked with different democratic innovation platforms to help kind of do an aggregate of some of the work they're doing as well, to see a global snapshot of what is the contribution of democratic innovations through citizen assemblies to decision making around the world, and especially in the climate conversations. Beyond climate as well, there are many other topics. So ISWE Foundation works on different levels of metrics from local to international global impact. So the way we work around is we started at the bottom with inclusion, and offering and looking into diversity and representation, especially for those underrepresented. Learning at scale, so working about how people understand critical topics, and then looking into the shifts, you're measuring and looking how citizen-led deliberation process can help foster more information, informed decision making, and help people take action through learnings together. Solidarity, of course, you see empathy and collaboration across people from not just in their communities but around the world. And then citizens' actions, of course, where these actions are being mapping these actions and looking at analyzing how these collaborations, this contribution to their local action plans, development plans are taking place. And then on the level of the institutions, working with institutions like the UNCCC and hopefully the partners here as well, and that we've been also exploring to look at not just from the local, but also influencing, for example, like the COP 31, which we're also working towards sharing the reports and the recommendations of the civic assemblies and community assemblies to the key decision makers and institutions. So some of the learnings, that were some of the stories we wanted to highlight, really, we're trying to avoid participatory washing. We really we take great care in different levels of scaling. So like some examples, like scaling out, the work of the Earth Charter Youth Movement Network in Brazil. They work with, through a trainer's training, they were able to replicate across 5 citizen assemblies and work towards COP30 through more advocacy campaigns and artistic digital actions. And then scaling high, the indigenous territory sovereignty, they shifted power by not necessarily going to lobby in Congress or in the government offices. They invited government to their territory and really went deeper dialogue and looking at land rights issues together. Another story is well, there are many stories, so but you can go to their website. But a lot of our stories are actually still ongoing documenting, but most of them are really highlighting the power of scaling deep, because it's the depth and the quality of deliberation that we want. It's present across all partners. And so on ACE, of course, we're aligned to several areas in education by doing structured learning. So we really work across global advisors on different topics that are, but also well-balanced representation of this, and through a learning journey online or in person. And then capacity development, the facilitators, the trainers, really deeply enhancing their capacity to design assemblies, facilitate them, and document them. And then the exposure to, for public awareness, exposure to drivers and levers for change. We're offering informed decision making, seeking a balance, not just learning about the other side and addressing polarity of topics, and being able to really think, how do we contribute to these critical issues, even if I'm just a farmer, or even, and how does it affect me and the other communities, and to look at leverage points to address together. And then international cooperation by shared needs and response. As people see common needs, they start, looking at a more empathic and solidarity based collaboration, and the calls to actions come from that place. inclusive knowledge access and inputs. So ensuring that these are information that are based on lived experience, ensuring that these are also open to participatory design, and also their shared experiences that they really want to be included in their recommendations and actions. And then, of course, going beyond just consultation, because we know that the Glasgow framework actually acknowledges that most participatory methods are based on consultation alone, but we want to go beyond just consultation, but really get people to deliberate and really look deeper into the layers of issues that are real to the people on the ground and globally. So, okay. So before that, I wanted to just highlight this beautiful story and close that with Anna Mbazi. She's a civic assembly member. So after being part of this global deliberation, she thought, the common story that they have that really impacted her. And just want to also highlight like a research from the Global Security Science Partnership that said when experts and citizens deliberate together, the resulting policies are more practical and more widely supported. And for us at our work, contributing to the Glasgow Work Program acknowledges public participation remains a frequently limited, going beyond consultation, right? So we wanted to really show our work as we connect local action and national global influence by building solidarity, legitimacy for a just transition. And when we're trying to do that in 4 ways: beyond consultation through deliberation, as shared earlier, beyond centralized power through distributed power, and then we also want to go beyond events by fostering the democratic culture. And then lastly, we want to go beyond technical policy outputs by through trust, solidarity, and civic empowerment. And so we really look forward to supporting the global community and also those who are active in the ACE program in enhancing your work through citizen assembly methodologies. So you can learn more through the QR codes below, learn more about the GCA and the Assemblies, which is the platform. And then my email is there as well. And happy to also answer questions or just reach out to me later. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been really inspiring to hear from our 4 speakers. All of them come from different networks, offering different sets of expertise with different programs. And thank you for extending the invitation to continue the engagement with you. So I hope you got the inspiration and thinking, oh, that's the one that I really want to do in my cities, in my communities, and start thinking and leverage the partnerships that you can have here and make the change at the local level. We are running slightly behind, and that the next portion of our event is a breakout discussion. So if you have any questions for our speakers or want to share your stories, now is the time to do so. This breakout group discussion will be about hearing your own experience, the initiatives and programs taking place in your cities and regions. You might not be the one who implements it, but to share that experience and how ACE can play a more prominent role in this process is what we want to find out. So we have, if you go to the next slide, we have structured the breakout groups to align also with the discussions that are taking place throughout the implementation forum today and tomorrow. And you will be asked to choose a group of your interest. So how it works is that there will be 3 tables, table 1, table 2, and table 3. And for round 1, you can choose from energy and industry. So if you want to go there, you'll need to be at the table 1. If you're interested in the topic of just transition, table 2. For transport, there will be table 3. After 30 minutes, and we also, because of the time limit, we might shorten the time based on how discussions go. After the first round, you'll be invited once again to choose from health, food security, and nature-based solutions, which includes forests and water. We understand that these topics are interlinked, and we invite you to explore the linkages as needed in the group work. Each group will be facilitated by an expert, a youth expert, and they will provide you with more further guiding questions and how the discussion will go. For people joining online, if you go to the bit.ly link or scan the QR code, you will be invited to go to a Zoom meeting where there is a possibility to join the discussion virtually. So with that, we wish you a wonderful discussion, and please do not leave the room. Thank you. Dear colleagues, I see that the discussions are well underway, so I would propose that we don't swap the groups, but start thinking about some of the linkages you can make with the second topic in round two in the places that you are. So we will not be moving. So there's about 10 minutes left, so please make sure that either you continue the discussions you're having or moving on to the second topic in the same group. We will not rotate. We will close in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. We will now move into the report back session quickly, and then let's wrap things up, and then we can head for lunch. So I will now invite the facilitators to use the mic in the middle of the room to provide us a very brief feedback, some summaries of what transpired in your group. Let's start with group one. Uh, please report back using the mic there. The one on the stand, yes. Use the mic, please, yeah, for the live streaming. It needs to stay where it is, sorry. So, yeah.
Okay. Can I like show the
Yeah.
flip chart? Yeah.
Do you need the whole stand?
Yeah. Hi everyone. This is a bit too high for me. Okay, so our topics is energy and industry. We have three delegates from Australia and yep, I'm sorry. But we have had a very fruitful discussion on how they and their countries incorporate NDC into energy transition and industry. We have talked a lot, but I will report on some main things. We have three examples from their countries, how they have organized community engagement in energy transition, well, in specifically incorporating private companies and also some grassroots engagement to make sure that the community understand and know what is going on in the energy transition, and they also uh, have the local communities in terms of energy transition. For example, like implement solar panel and how to like ensure that solar panel work well in terms of the time, the different time. Yep. Another interesting thing is that some countries have implementing ACE and incorporating it into their NEC plan. Some other we haven't worked on it, but we have also have many insights for our country to like we exchange the knowledge and the insights together. In terms of energy transition and industry, another interesting insight is that we have faced different constraints when working with the community engagement. For example, some community don't really understand the benefits of using clean energy, for example, wind turbine or solar energy. But we have we have different ways to like incorporate them into workshop or engagement to make them understand the benefits of it and how to utilize the solar panel to make sure that the energy transition goes well. Yeah. So that's our discussion on energy and industry. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And let's do the, yeah, consecutively. Thank you.
Hello everyone. It's me Nisal Dungana. So I was the facilitator of Group 1 and it's health. There were people from the Australia, Nepal and I just forget about another one. In the health, we include the different things. So we talk about the physical, mental health. Actually, I just want to highlight that. While talking about the health, lots of people talk about the physical health. I would like to highlight about the mental health also, which is caused due to the climate-induced disasters. It's well known as climate anxiety. I have been working in different community levels. So at that time, what I can see is the physical health and the economical loss and damage can be recovered. But while talking about the mental health and non-economical loss and damage, it can't be recovered in any cost. So yeah, that's my main thing to highlight over here. And from the discussions, so in lots of countries, NDCs, health is included in the NDC, pointing at the facts and the research. So they have been working in the different research so that they can work for the early warning system, so they can precaution for the different things. So also there are another policy. So we are well known about the NAP. So there is a different special one for the health, and they are working to implement it also. And lots of countries are doing research, as I mentioned. Also, lots of countries are doing research in collaborative way. They are collaborating with the universities, with the other countries bilaterally for the separate hazards like the extreme health in a particular area, so that they can find out the particular data. So after such years or after some months, so this will happen in this such area, so that they can precaution for the particular particular health disaster that will caused by those events. So, and different institutions are focusing on different health issues. On the other hand, so access to the information about the data. So as I also mentioned that the early warning system is very important, as we have been saying about the prevention is better than the cure. So lots of institutes are working on it. So how to reduce the risks, protect our health and safety, healthcare, facilitating and service also. Organization like in lots of countries there are lots of indigenous group. So actually lots of policies and early warning systems are not actually made in those languages. So they are focusing to made on those languages also. But in some talking about some indigenous community, there is not particular alphabet over there. So we have been using the particular entrepreneur for particular the translator from those communities. Maybe they can be the leaders of them, so that we can communicate and educate him about the what will happen, about the early warning system, about the other things, about the climate action, so that we can talk and we can work for that particular communities also. So that was our highlights of the discussions. Thank you. So if I have just left anything, yeah, you guys can add. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Then let's quickly move on to group 2 for the topics of just transition and food security. Yep. And let's keep it under 2 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alfian, facilitator for the group 2. We don't bring our flip chart, but I think there is a lot of the best practices that we get from the facilitation sessions. So the first things that we get on the just transition processing is that consultation processes, there is a lot of the integration of processing within subnational and the national level that had been done on the ground, where they collaborate with the private, national level, and subnational level into the consultation process and this transition processings and how they can integrate like the national document into the supranational document. And the second thing, there is also another projects on the Indonesian government that have been done in Nusa Tenggara, where they try integrating the national level on the renewable energy project plan within education projects, where they creating the vocational program on the school within teaching skill, and then also, but there is another challenge access as well when there is not job opportunity for the student. And the other things that there is also another best practices from the Bangladesh that there is kind of building like a formal climate working groups on the subnational level, where it become like the hub of the ecosystem of the exchange resource on the implementation of the ACE. And at the same time that the challenge exists from the lack of the capacity building, especially on the subnational level, where it is like become the main problems when it comes to the ACE implementation on the ground, and there is no integrational processes between national and the subnational level, but also limited fundings on the ground on the subnational level to implement the ACE implementation. But there is also another best practices on the implementation on this the submission on the NDC. So there is a youth led and organizations that they moving to mention is the youth on the national development carbon, where on the second from the second NDC that only mentioned about one word on the youth, but they move and they change the consultation processing to be more formally engaged and to be more structural, so they can move and put 64 time of the youth word into the document and push more recognition for the youth on the climate SNDC. And then the other things that they do by the City 40, that they're creating like the assessment for the funding mechanism for funding window, especially for the subnational level, where they assess 64 of the fund streamline, and then only 15 of them can gain access for the subnational level, but only 3 of the fund streamline can be accessed directly for the subnational level related for the green transition processing. And then the last thing that I will mention also about some of the projects to make sure the fair and inclusivity on the programs are the implementation or on the assessment. One of them, the equity assessment, where even the projects on the subnational level have been implemented on the ground, if it's not fit with the structure or like the variable, they not going there, and even they do visitings to the household to make the assessment if the people cannot attend the consultation process on the subnational level. Yeah, I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there someone else coming from the group, or?
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you for our group for rich discussions you have shared. We had their colleagues from different regions like Indonesia, Hong Kong, Korea, and Bengals. So the group has highlighted that the climate change is increasing risks for the food security in shape of drought due to heavily rainfall and increasingly floods and landslides as well. So the participants also shared their initiatives and some projects they are already working and someone conducting in their countries and organization, and someone is aware about the projects governing by their communities at national level and local levels. So there were some examples like organic farmings, specifically running in the backward areas where the people has limited access to food securities and food markets. And as well as they are working on the food bank, like those one colleague has shared an example of Hong Kong. So through food bank, they are providing food for the vulnerable communities. They need foods, right? So and the groups also emphasized the locals and the subnational levels role in these food security days. Governments and the local governments can play a big role in the food securities because they closely know the needs of the people and act quickly, right now. And also the group has highlighted that the AS can be a big impact on this food security, specifically in those regions where the people has a limited access to the climate change awareness and policies and some implementations, right? So specifically the group has emphasized it and suggested the ACE implementations, educations, awareness, and their policy should be implemented in those areas where the peoples don't understand the English and they just understand the local language. And so the group has highlighted and emphasized to AS should be translated their workings, their trainings, their education into the local language so that they can easily understand the situations to combat the food securities. So thank you everyone for this discussion also.
Thank you so much. Let's move to group 3.
Hi everyone, I'll be representing Group 3 in transportation. We had a very robust discussion that was going on transportation, and there's a lot of things that were talked about on subnational and local levels, especially colleague was very generous to give us at least like 10 examples of the cities that have been doing EV transportation, low carbon transportation for, including how you say it, like including citizen participation, and there's a lot of things that they do to build capacity for local governments. And then we were also talking about how do we do this to maintain diversity within like the public participation process. And we also have like the great honor to have Kalia here, who represents the indigenous people group, and she also shares a lot about how government and the policy processes should be doing with the voices of the people who are on the ground, who are the most affected, for it to be more inclusive. So as well as other minority groups, vulnerable groups, these things should be taken into mind when you're doing the policy, especially on those that are affecting a lot of people, such as transportation. Yeah. So thank you. That's just a brief summary of our discussion. Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'll try my best to really make it quick because I'm literally standing in between lunch. So I know everyone's hungry. But yeah, for the nature-based solutions group, so some of the people who were in the group shared about the deforestation project, and it specifically caters to the child participation and how child participation can contribute to reforestation. And there were also mentions of the plans, national plans in the different environmental conventions, specifically on the NDCs and the MBSAPs, where governments are committed to use nature-based solutions, but it was also mentioned for less emissions, and it was also mentioned that implementation is really difficult because some solutions can sometimes compromise things within the community. So the solution for this is to really work closely with communities in order to enable the use of nature-based solutions. And there were also mentions of on how ACE could help in boosting nature-based solutions, and one mentioned that the need for international cooperations because international spaces can influence governments, and on adaptation, in the work streams of the UNFCCC, it was mentioned that adaptation and mitigation are not balanced, and in the local level, there's a need to showcase their solutions, their ways on how they adapt, and we need to build something from it, and there's not a lot of nature anymore, so sometimes people resort to dystopic ideas like create a hall where you can hear the sound of the birds in the city centers. And another thing is that not nature-based solutions should also align with subnational governments, the integration of community voices, and raising awareness to the government and advocate for participation through climate education. But it was also mentioned that education should not only be the thing, because the thing that we should focus more on is by doing. Like, we learn something, but we must also learn how to do it. And to end this report, we just want to say that we should really enable communities to do it themselves, to give them a sense of ownership and enhance the generation and to enhance generational knowledge, and to also acknowledge indigenous knowledge, because indigenous knowledge are usually the nature-based solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To wrap things up, please give another round of applause to our excellent youth facilitators. And thank you so much for staying until the very end. There are multiple, as I mentioned before, implementation forum events, the implementation forum dialogue that will focus on different aspects of what we have discussed today. So please feel free to take what you have learned today and also share the word about how ACE is there to support everyone. So with that, I will close this event, but just to mention what will come next. So at the beginning, Fleur mentioned that this year the Glasgow Work Program is undergoing a midterm review, and we anticipate the outcome of the review will be a new cycle of activities that will be captured in the 5-year action plan. So with the various activities the Secretariat is organizing, this kind of discussion will inform the review process. But most importantly, at the SB session, the subsidiary body session that will happen in June in Bonn, there will be the mandated ACE dialogue, as well as a technical workshop that will happen as part of the dialogue that will look at how the Glasgow Work Program has functioned over the past 4 years. And this will happen on the first day of the SB session, so Monday. And then the technical workshop looking more about forward, so discussing the potential elements for a new ACE action plan that will happen on Tuesday and Thursday. So we have 3 days of workshop where parties and observers will come together to start thinking about what has worked, what didn't, and what can be done to accelerate ACE implementation. And the discussions we had about subnational government and local governments, we are hoping that some of the inspirations can be taken up by parties and put into concrete activities that can be implemented in the next 5 years as well. This dialogue will be informed by the submissions made by parties and non-party stakeholders. The deadline was end of last month, so the Secretariat team is actually analyzing at the moment the submissions, and we will be able to present somewhat preliminary agenda for this event, hopefully by mid-May. And so with that, I will now formally close the event so that we can go have a nice lunch before we join other events in the afternoon. Thank you so much.